Coming up next on the Jeff Crilley Show, we'll look at a unique concept that combines the charm of a dude ranch with the security of an underground bunker. That's just ahead.
Many are predicting that the worst is yet to come, which is unfortunate, said one person here. Until now, they've enjoyed the reputation of being the nation's icebox.
Watched a burglar in his home this morning by webcam.
As a journalist of over 25 years, stories are what make my world turn.
Reporting live from the Dallas newsroom tonight, Jeff Crilley, Fox 4 News.
But in 2008, I took the jump from my familiar life and started a PR firm from my home.
We're talking about anyone with a camcorder like the one I'm using becomes a television network.
We started slowly growing the company, and we now have over 100 clients, and we've branched into the world of live digital broadcasting. I now own 8 different TV studios and have a huge team, and the stories that I now get to share are sometimes the most important of my life. Life has a funny way of coming around full circle. This is the Jeff Crilley Show.
Well, I think you'd have to go back to the Cold War and images of bomb shelters in the 50s to find a time when life seemed more uncertain. I mean, we've got COVID-19, we've got a new variant, we've got hack attacks, often targeting our water systems and our power grids. It's a scary time. But a man who has a real vision for providing security is Dr. Drew Miller. He is the CEO of Fortitude Ranch, and I can't wait for you to tell this story. Tell us about Fortitude Ranch.
Thank you, Jeff. Well, Fortitude Ranch is a recreational and survival community. So in good times, we're a place where you can come and hunt and vacation and hike and enjoy the wilderness. But in bad times, we turn into a survival community. All our members have weapons stored at our facility, professional staff such as myself and former military folks. And we basically batten down. We have defenses, we've got food storage, animals, and we can survive as long as it takes to get through a really bad pandemic, something like avian flu, which is 60% lethal, not less than 1% like COVID-19, or a loss of the electric system, or some other big disaster that triggers what we call a collapse, meaning there's no functioning economy and there's widespread loss of law and order.
And I know a few years ago, if you had described this concept to people, they'd say, oh, your clients are the end of the world type people. And that's not true. I mean, you've got just regular business people now.
Oh, absolutely. The first rule of prepping is don't tell anyone you're a prepper. So everyone knows preppers, and they're largely serious, smart people who have realized that when things get bad, you can overwhelm police. And you certainly saw that last year throughout 2020, where there were places in the U.S. where there was looting going on. The police couldn't stop it. So when the electric system goes out, and we have a very, very vulnerable electric system, police will be overwhelmed. You won't be able to function in the city. There'll be no water supplies, there'll be no food deliveries, and people will very quickly start marauding, stealing to survive. There's over 1 million gang members in the United States. They're going to take advantage of a loss of the electric system and police being overwhelmed. So when that happens, you do not want to be in a city like Dallas. You don't want to be in a suburb. You want to be able to get out to a safe place with a big group of people with weapons and preparations, food stored, animals so you can grow your own food. Because if you don't have that, you won't survive a long-term collapse.
And you were featured recently in a really popular documentary. Let's just roll a little clip from that.
But if a cataclysmic disaster really happens, not everyone assumes that the government, or anyone for that matter, is really coming to help.
Rich people in government, they take care of themselves, but for the middle class and for lower income folks, you're absolutely on your own.
In the foothills of the Colorado Mountains is a secluded camp called Fortitude Ranch. It's run by Drew Miller, with a PhD in public policy from Harvard. He's a respected figure in what used to be considered a fringe movement.
We kind of had a phrase decades ago in the prep industry called 72 hours to animal, saying that, you know, for the first couple of days, people will react okay, but eventually when there's no food, no water, and panic starts spreading, people are going to get to their basic instincts of survival, and it's going to be laws. We don't believe that anymore. We believe it's more like 72 seconds or 72 minutes to animal. Chaos is going to break out within the first hour or hours.
A former Cold War military intelligence officer, Miller has inside knowledge that most people don't.
Government's number one priority is taking care of themselves. Police number one priority, continuity of government, taking care of the elected officials. No one is going to be responding to your call for help in your little house saying, hey, there's a marauding group coming through, breaking into houses, taking goods and stealing. So if you're a government official, you'll be taken care of, but the rest of us, we're pretty much on our own. Back up! We're prepared to defend ourselves. We don't just stockpile food, we have guns and ammo too, but a lot of the population does not, and they're going to be victims, unfortunately, in that case.
The major weapons we recommend for our members are either an AR-15, which is not an assault rifle, it's a defensive rifle. People say, oh, you don't need this is just for the military. Well, in a collapse situation, if you've got a marauder group coming after you, and they got a lot of people, got a lot of weapons, you do need a lot of rounds.
In 2020, fear spread far and wide beyond Fortitude Ranch.
Wow, I think it's absolutely brilliant. And what comes to my mind is like Camp David. If President Biden was staying at Camp David and there was a threat, obviously there's a place where he could go and be secure. This is almost like having your personal membership to Camp David, isn't it?
Well, it's actually Mount Weather is more like, you know, if you're an elected official or a senior government member, they take care of you. You'll go to Mount Weather or Site R in Pennsylvania, Mount Weather's in Virginia, and everything's provided for you. You have guards there for you, a food stockpile, places to sleep. A lot of rich people have facilities as well. Survival Condo is an ICBM shelter for very, very rich people. There hasn't really been anything for the rest of us, though, before Fortitude Ranch. And the reason we're affordable is because, you know, we are members, not just staff, but our members can join. We don't have super fancy facilities now, although we're going to be adding some better new housing options like condos and nicer rooms. But most of our facilities are fairly simple rooms where you store your supplies, your weapons, your ammo, your glasses, prescriptions. And then if the shit hits the fan is the term we use in the prepper industry, if things go bad, you come there, we all come in, and then we man our defenses. We have guard posts that are set up. We put up security walls, and we can keep marauders away. We have chickens, goats, cattle. We can grow our own food as well, and we can survive the worst disaster. So it doesn't matter if it's the electric system going down or what the threat is. We can survive for years if we need to. And if it's the electric system, if it's a pandemic that lasts 18 months, you need to be able to go for a very long time on your own with no police, absolutely no outside support at all.
Oh, outstanding. And you've caught the media's attention. We're going to show a CNET article. It has to be fun to do these media interviews and finally the media catching on. I think we've all lived through it with the pandemic. We can see how society can be brought to its knees in no time at all.
That's correct. I mean, preppers used to be kind of looked down on. They had really ridiculous shows showing people doing stupid stuff, and then the doomsday preppers was the worst. But the reason for that is that the first rule of prepping is don't tell anyone you're a prepper. So everyone knows preppers, and they're largely business professionals, former military and police, people who recognize that when there's a big bad event, police are overwhelmed. You cannot stop looting. You cannot stop people breaking into your house, stealing, or worse, killing to survive. So we've got preppers like that, and that is the norm for preppers, but you don't know that because the first rule of prepping is don't tell anyone you're a prepper, because you don't want people, your neighbors or other people coming up saying, hey, give me food, you've got it, give it over to me, or worse, having a marauder group know you're a prepper and come up to you. But in the case of Fortitude Ranch, we don't depend on being a secret location, no one knowing where we are. We've got a lot of members with weapons, good defensive facilities. So when marauder groups are out there roaming around, if they see us, they're going to say, ooh, this is a hard target. They're going to go after the easy ones. So if you do the mistake a lot of preppers do, where you get a house out in a remote area, stockpile it full of supplies, but you don't have a lot of guards on duty at night, all you've really done is made yourself a more tempting target. If you can't defend your prepper supplies, you've almost made yourself worse off, because now you're a target. People want to steal and take your supply. So you have to have a lot of people. You have to have a lot of guards on duty, especially at night. You can't do that with 20, 30, even 40 people. We have over 100 members at our location, and we believe it takes, a force of hundreds to be really, really sure you've got the resources, you've got the manpower, and you've got the guards and weapons, so that no matter how long the bad collapse is, you can survive it.
And you're prepared, so if all of your members rushed there at the same time, you could accommodate them?
Correct. So we have a lot of buildings, both underground basements, underground shelters. Most of our facilities are actually above ground. And so all our members have a place to sleep. Depending on the membership they buy, they can have a very simple, low-cost room. They can have a nicer room. And then going forward with our new Texas location, we're going to have condos. We're going to actually have a Fortitude condo that's inside our facilities. You can buy a condo room. You can get a container room if you want a private house and put that up. You can even lease land at some of our new facilities and build your own house there. So we're expanding our options for people to have more and nicer housing options. And one of the reasons we're doing this is last year, some people were so upset with the way the country was in trouble last year, they said, I don't want to live in a big city. So they're abandoning California, they're abandoning New York City, and they're saying, I want to live in a rural, safe area. So a lot of people say, hey, I don't want to be limited. Right now, our model is, you can visit for up to 2 weeks per year, but unless it's a collapse, you can't stay here for a long time. So with this new model, you can have a condo, you can be there full time if you want, stay as much as you want. So you can always be secure in knowing that no matter what happens, you and your family can survive.
We're going to put a map up to show some of your expansion plans, and can you describe that for us?
Sure. Well, our existing locations are West Virginia, Colorado, and Nevada. We're just now opening in Wisconsin. We just closed on our beautiful lakefront property. It's an RV resort in north central Wisconsin. And now we're opening in central Texas later on this summer, a rural location a couple hours west of Dallas. And that'll be a facility that, as we said, we'll have the condos, the additional housing options. And then we'll have a facility either in Tennessee or North Carolina early next year, and then up in the Northeast, and then other locations.
Give us some pricing.
Sure. Well, if you go with our Spartan model, our very basic plywood type bunk bed, not a lot of room, that you can get if you do a long-term membership, sign up for a long-term membership agreement. You can get that for as low as about $1,000 per person per year. Very inexpensive. But again, we need a lot of people, so it's beneficial for us to have a lot of people. If you want nicer facilities, we have what we call a luxury membership. It's not fancy. It's just relative to Spartan, it's luxury. It's more like middle-class bedroom. And for that, depending on the membership length you get, if you do a longer-term membership, it might be a $20,000 down payment for, say, a family of 3, and then payment of several $1,000s a year in quarterly and annual food restocking fees for a long period. So that's more expensive, but you got a nicer, bigger, better furnished private room.
And is there a penthouse price?
Not now, but there will be. Again, we're building these condominiums, so they will have some very nice rooms. And basically, we're going to be selling people the shell, so they can finish out the inside either simple, if it's just a vacation home, very, very upscale, put a lot of money into it, make it a really nice bathroom.
And so we're about to wrap it up. So in the last minute or so, are there some final thoughts that you'd like to leave the audience with?
Well, we're trying to expand so we can save more people. This is the basic idea of Fortitude Ranch. We don't just want marauders, stealing to survive. We want, good law-abiding people to survive. So we're raising investment now to expand in our Texas locations and others across the United States. Website's fortituderanch.com. So if you're interested in either joining or investing, we'd be grateful to have your support and membership.
Outstanding. What a fascinating segment. You'll have to come back. We're going to end by putting up the website. FortitudeRanch.com is the website. Dr. Drew Miller, thanks for coming on the show.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
You bet. That's it for now. We'll see you next time.